on digital radio, on the app, on your smartphone, on X, YouTube, and Facebook. The Sportscast. Basketball in March.
The Donut Bag presented by the Sportscast.
The Donut Bag, hosted by Joey Toscano. And here's your host, Joey Toscano.
Hey, what's going on, everybody? Welcome to the Donut Bag podcast, part of the Sportscast Network. Welcome to everybody joining us live. If you want to join in on the conversation, join us on the YouTube channel. That is Joey Bag of Donuts V instead of an F. And while you're at it, please like and subscribe. I think there's a way of contributing via Twitter, but I haven't figured it out. Anyway, with me tonight is Chris Dell at Mad Journalist, sports editor of the Post Gazette and CEO of Bet Predators. And in addition to being one of the most accurate, winning the accuracy award for fantasy football, also finished top 10 in mock drafts. Congratulations.
Thank you, Joe. Pleasure to be here. Thank you for having me.
So when you turned in the mock draft, what was the deadline to turn in your mock draft?
The deadline for this contest with Fantasy Pros, I believe, was right up until the actual draft started. So maybe like 8 p.m., I think. And, you know, I probably should have believed the hype leading up, which was that rumor about the Jaguars trading up for Travis Hunter, where a lot of people were mocking Ashton Genty to the Jaguars at that spot. I had actually mocked a trade up for Genty from the Chicago Bears to that 5 spot. But by the time that news had really solidified that the Browns were actually going to trade out of 2, I think the deadline had already passed at that point. So that was the one surprise. Like if there was anyone out there that had the Jaguars getting up to get not Ashton Genty, but Travis Hunter, man, like that was a real surprise for me. I thought the Browns should have taken Travis Hunter. I mean, he's like one of those truly generational talents. I know it's an overused term, but that was probably my one regret towards the end, is like not buying into that hype and kind of like, there's no way the Browns will trade out, and let alone the Browns did what the Browns do, which is, probably not a smart decision at the end of the day.
I think it could have been a smart decision if they picked better players, but that was a surprise. And it's, what do they call the lead up to the draft? Lying season. I kept hearing that. Yeah, I kept hearing that the Jaguars were going to take Genty, and the Browns were going to take Travis Hunter. But that was a surprise. But overall, well, it's kind of sad, because to me this is the Shedeur Sanders draft. It's like he just dominated the talk, because he was supposed to go, maybe 2 or 3, and he doesn't even go into the 5th round. What do you think happened there? Do you think he's just not that good, or just a product of hype, or why do you think he slid so far?
Oh man, that's the $1 million question, Joe. I can't really give you the right answer. I don't think anyone has the right answer. There's a lot of rumors. There's a lot of hearsay. I think getting down to the basics of it is that let's forget about his last name for a second. Like, let's say he's not Deion Sanders' kid. Probably never gets hyped up to be a projected 1st-round pick in the first place, right? And then you throw in the fact that when he didn't really have the greatest test results, and these days, NFL franchises are more and more going to these traitsy quarterbacks, like the ones who can scramble out of the pocket, who are real athletic. The traditional pocket passers tend to fall. Now, whether that's right or wrong, Shedeur is a traditional, pocket passing type of quarterback. He doesn't really run very much. His greatest strength is his accuracy. So I think that when you look at it, there was only a few teams that truly had a quarterback need at the end of the day. And I think, Steelers were obviously one. We could talk about who they got in a little bit. We had the Seahawks. We knew they were going to take – well, we thought they were going to take someone. We knew the Saints were likely to take someone. Then you had the Raiders, the Browns, and the Giants. So out of those half dozen, you're talking about 6 out of 32 teams really that only need a quarterback. And then you throw in the possible baggage, like the circus show that could come to town. And look, I think Shedeur seems like a nice kid. I don't think he's really done anything wrong, to be honest with you. But, we know that the cameras are going to be all around his locker no matter where he goes, whether he's the starter or the backup. We know Dion's going to be making headlines. I think a lot of franchises didn't want to deal with that more than, this kid's entitled. So I think you add those combinations of factors in. I'm personally shocked he did not go on day 2. Yeah. I thought he'd be a round 2 pick, if anything. Look at Will Levis last year. He was rumored by some to go top 5. He winds up slipping to the beginning of round 2. You're like, oh, wow, what a fall. And it's okay, if Shedeur fell to round 2, we would have been like, oh, wow, what a fall. This was a historic fall. This is Aaron Rodgers sitting in the green room times 1,000, So I don't think we've ever seen anything like it. Granted, I was born in 1988. I wasn't watching drafts before the 90s, but I can't remember seeing anything like this in my lifetime. And I'm not a scout. I personally like Shedeur Sanders. I thought that he was a guy who could elevate his teams. Whatever team he played for, they won games. He has an issue with holding the ball too long, taking sacks. Well, a decent amount of NFL quarterbacks currently starting actually have that same issue as well. So at the end of the day, I think the Browns got a bargain. And I think what they did was let's take another quarterback first. Dylan Gabriel, the real surprise 3rd-round pick there. And then they take Shedeur. So it's Shedeur, you're not even the first rookie quarterback we drafted. So now you really got to come in and earn it because you got to compete with the guys on our roster before the draft. And you've got another rookie who we took before you to compete with as well. So he's got to climb the ladder and he's got to earn it. But I think all those things, long story short, go into what happened. And it's unfortunate that it happened that way. But, maybe, again, if he had a different last name, he might have been a projected round 2 or round 3 pick to begin with. And no one would really be talking about this story.
I think there were so many factors in play just for how much attention it got. For one thing, the analysts, cough, cough, Mel Kiper, were going crazy about him. And that's all they were talking about. I think there's a level of schadenfreude here. It's oh, you thought you were this great and, you're getting knocked down a peg. Look, we all like to see somebody get knocked down a peg that thinks they're arrogant or something like that, whether he thought that or not. But I've never seen someone that was projected to go top 5 go in the 5th round. The only thing that's close was Malik Willis from the Kenny Pickett draft. Right. Remember the Steelers were rumored to get him in the 1st round or something like that, or he was rumored to go, maybe top 10, and he doesn't go in the 3rd round. I've never seen anything like this, and to me, it very much seems like the Browns. The owner just called them and said, okay, that's enough. You're taking him now. Because I don't think, because when they showed the, when they showed the Browns war room and they showed him drafting Shedeur Sanders, they're like, yeah.
Well, yeah, I did see that clip. And what you actually got to look, they actually did that with everyone they drafted. So.
Oh yeah.
Well, clip that was out there.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
It's kind of sad. Everybody was talking so much about Shedeur Sanders, and really there should have been more talk about Cam Ward because it was such a done deal that Cam Ward was going to go 1st overall. It's really, there's nothing to talk about. It's this dude has a more amazing story than Sanders. He was, basically started from nothing and became the number 1 overall draft pick. I don't know. I think more attention should be given to Cam Ward.
Yeah, absolutely. He earned that number 1 pick. And I'm excited about Cam Ward. We'll see how he fits in that Callahan system. I think they got some decent weapons there. They're working. That offensive line is a work in progress. So I'm not expecting too much in year 1 from him, but he seems like he has the right head on his shoulders. And which I still think Shedeur can be a really good NFL quarterback. I'm just going to put it that way. And it's like, what was more exciting than watching the Deion Sanders show and taking Colorado from a nothing program into something? I mean, as someone who's just a fan of football, I loved it. I thought it was so much fun to watch. I never really saw anything bad out of Shedeur when he played. Didn't seem like some kind of entitled, whiny kid or anything like that. So that's just my personal take on it. I think a lot of us like had moments, a decent amount of people out there that their dad coached them growing up. And just because your dad coached you growing up doesn't mean like you got a free ride or anything like that. It just happens to be Deion Sanders. So I think that, and at the end of the day, like I think it's kind of a joke that Tyler Shuck, 7th-year quarterback out of Louisville, goes before Shedeur Sanders. I thought it was pretty wild that Dylan Gabriel, the Browns, they did take him before Shedeur Sanders. I could understand the Jalen Milroe, that it's like, hey, this guy could be like an absolute project in 5 years. He could be the next Lamar Jackson. Okay, I'm not saying that's true, but I get the thought process there. So I could have you could have sold me on Ward, Dart, and Milroe. I thought that absolutely at the latest Shedeur should have been the 4th quarterback overall. And like the whole clip of like the kids prank calling him, I mean, that's just not right. Like
that's shameful. That was really low.
The hate goes too far. Like you can be like, oh, I don't like Deion Sanders. Like his kid is like a little brat. And then it's like, it just went way too far. And people are just
felt bad for him. Like,
yeah, I felt bad for him. Like that people are laughing at him. People are just they're taking joy in criticizing like a kid. Like let the kid enjoy his moment. It's I don't know. I mean, like Johnny Manziel had a lot of baggage and he still got drafted early. It's not like Shedeur's like drinking coming into games hungover and drinking right after the game. And I mean, you could go, Jamarcus Russell. I mean, there's a million stories like that. So at the end of the day, it was crazy to watch. It made day 2 like a whole entire show because everyone's like, when is he going to go? And you normally don't see that type of interest on day 2 for rounds 2 and 3. I really thought Pittsburgh would actually take him, and Pittsburgh, they held steady. They went like the whole Big Ten route in the draft. Mike Tomlin had made some comments that Will Howard was like really blew the doors off for them when they met with him. And that was their guy. Like they really liked Will Howard a lot. And I would not be surprised if Will Howard plays a little bit next year. Look, like Aaron Rodgers, like how healthy can he stay? Like realistically, if anything happens to Aaron Rodgers, I understand Mason Rudolph's there, but Will Howard might get a crack at it. I would not be surprised to see him start some games for Pittsburgh next year.
Well, how often do we see assuming that Will Howard will be like the 3rd string quarterback, how often do we see the 3rd string quarterback play in a season? It happens quite a bit actually. So yeah, it's very possible that he could play soon. That would be interesting. But what do you think Sanders' future is with the Browns? I mean, the Browns quarterback situation is crazy right now. Joe Flacco, Kenny Pickett, and then the 2 quarterbacks they drafted, like somebody got to get cut, right?
Right. So yeah, I mean, like the news came out just a couple hours ago that the Browns aren't going to pick up Kenny Pickett's 5th-year club option. That's $22 million. Like, right. Can't blame him. So that was what they would have to pay him for 2026. So it's a 1-year rental, maybe prove it type of deal. Obviously, like they don't really have much else. Dylan Gabriel, Joe Flacco, and Shedeur Sanders. So I think, in that system that there can be some success there in Cleveland. Kevin Stefanski's a guy who's done well with different quarterbacks, kind of making the most out of them. We saw even Jameis Winston have some success there last season. It's been a train wreck because essentially the ownership has tried to force feed a broken Deshaun Watson down their throats and make him play. It's like that sunk cost fallacy is really, and thank God they're past that. Like I'm not a Browns fan, but I'm just like, I hate to see a team be forced to play a quarterback who's just not good anymore. And that's just the God honest truth with Deshaun Watson. He just lost it mentally like years ago after that scandal. It's just a fact. So I'm excited to see because last year we saw a lot of people down on Bo Nix coming out of that Oregon system. and he surprised some people. And don't be surprised if Dylan Gabriel surprises some people this year. So I think they've got two Stefanski quarterbacks, which is like guys who have pinpoint accuracy in the short to intermediate areas of the field. They don't have rockets for arms. They're not super mobile, but man, they can hit those NFL, 3rd down and 8 type of plays, those slants over the middle, those out routes. And we've seen Shedeur do that quite well. So I'm excited to see both him and Gabriel battle it out for that quarterback job.
I wonder if, because obviously they have long-term stake in Kenny Pickett, I wonder if he might actually be cut at the end of training camp. We'll see. But
yeah.
Oh well. I mean, it's maybe the Steelers could pick him up or something like that. He could be our third string quarterback.
And you saw Deontay Johnson's there now, so we got a nice little Steelers reunion with Kenny Pickett and Deontay Johnson. Yeah.
So onto the Steelers draft. What did you think about it? It seemed very I've heard it described as meat and potatoes. It's very just, they had a plan. It seemed like they had a plan to fortify the defense and fortify the defensive line, and they stuck to it. It was just it seemed to be a very solid draft.
Yeah. I mean, I know that the popular thing is the draft grade stuff. And I think that personally at the Post-Gazette, we have the best Steelers analysts in the industry. Jerry Dulac put out his draft grades today. He gave the Steelers an A-. Ray Fittipaldo, who does our Steelers report cards during the season, he did the same thing. So the guys who know the Steelers best, who have covered the Steelers for years here, they're happy with the draft. And I tend to agree with them. Like they needed a future replacement for Cam Hayward. They really need to bolster that defensive line. Really, really struggled in creating pressure on the quarterback. Last season, we saw it trickle down to TJ Watt and him having a more inefficient season as well on the edge. Caleb Johnson was literally Najee Harris 2.0 this year. So they let Najee Harris walk and they get a cheap rookie. It's literally all Big Ten players out of the 7 picks that they had. So it's quite something that they went 7 for 7 there. Harmon had a couple medical red flags, nothing too serious. So I'm cool with it, man. Like, honestly, I thought the best option I saw mocked to them besides quarterback in the first round was Kenneth Grant. And he went way earlier than expected. I believe he was 12th or 13th to Miami. So I thought that Derek Harmon was the third best D tackle after Mason Graham. So you have Mason Graham 1. You've got Kenneth Grant and Walter Nolan, who both went before the Steelers picked. And Derek Harmon is in that tier with them. So there was that top tier of 4 defensive tackles. The Steelers luckily got one of them. And I think that's what they wanted all along. You're talking about solidifying some depth at edge rusher with Jack Sawyer from Ohio State. Yahya Black, another defensive tackle from Iowa. So joining Caleb Johnson, who was their 3rd round pick. And then Will Howard, national championship winning quarterback, traditional pocket passer, smart player. Doesn't have those, Shedeur Sanders type of quarterback, right? Wins with accuracy, wins with his IQ, doesn't win with his mobility and his speed. I think that's perfectly okay. I think he matches what Mason Rudolph brings to the table there. And then a couple depth pieces at the end of it, with the Washington linebacker and actually the one non-Big Ten player they didn't get from Central Michigan cornerback in the 7th round with their last pick. So 6 out of 7, my apologies on the Big Ten there. But I thought it was a solid draft. You want me to grade it? I think it's a solid B with a potential for more. I think it's hard to give any team an A, honestly, Joe. In terms of I think the only time I'm willing to do that is if they make a certain trade, they accumulate draft capital, a guy who's rated high on a board slips, and you get that guy. I think Howie Roseman with the Eagles has done a really good job of doing that over the years. But yeah, overall, I thought meat and potatoes, bolster the line. The Steelers are doing what they need to do. Now the question is, can Arthur Smith actually navigate this offense to some modicum of success in 2025? Because that honestly still concerns me a lot. Are they going to use this as another excuse to not feature Jaylen Warren in the backfield when he's clearly their most talented backfield player to give him the ball at running back? I'm a little worried they're going to try to throw Caleb Johnson in that Najee Harris role. I'm a little worried that Arthur Smith sticks to his conservative ways. those are the things that really worry me, where it's like, okay, yes, you had a B, you had an A draft, but like it's not translating to wins. And that's the biggest concern I have, stepping back and looking at it from a bird's eye view for the Steelers prospects post-draft going into training camp over the summer and the preseason.
It doesn't, to me, the success of this team doesn't matter on this draft. It all depends on the previous drafts, and in particular, what they've done with the offensive line. And if Broderick Jones is a bust, this team is screwed. If he's good and they could get the running game going, and they have Fautanu on the other side, and they have a good line, then okay. And the running back and the running game gets going, okay, then you have something. But if Broderick Jones is a bust, they are kind of screwed. And yeah, I think it's a foregone conclusion that they just don't view Jaylen Warren as, the guy that you run until the wheels come off kind of guy. I think he's going to have probably just as many touches as he had last year. And Caleb Johnson is going to, like you said, be in the Najee roles. Yeah. And there you go. So from a fantasy perspective, if you were counting on Jaylen Warren, you're in trouble, because I think he's going to have this almost the same exact role as last year.
It does concern me. The explosiveness, we know that'll be there. That's what was lacking with the Steelers last year. And it's like, if you're not going to give him at least a little bit more touches, I'm slightly confident because Caleb Johnson's a 3rd-round pick. He's not a 1st-round pick like Najee was. He doesn't have that high-level draft capital that Jaylen Warren will get that opportunity. He needs to stay healthy, obviously. And you mentioned Broderick Jones. I mean, it's the same for Troy Fautanu. Like, he's got to come back healthy too, man, because you can't spend back-to-back years on offensive tackle in the 1st round and have nothing to show for it.
Right.
And that's essentially what happened last year. I mean, you're absolutely right. It's all about the previous draft classes as well. We know Kenny Pickett didn't work out, and they're still recovering from that too. So, we'll wait and see. If Harmon comes out of the gates and really helps elevate their pass rush, I think they'll be happy in the short term, and obviously replacing Hayward in the long term there. So, it's all about quarterback now. Like, is Rodgers going to sign or not? Indications point that he will. When? We have no idea. I've heard some people say it's coming soon. We've got no definitive news there yet. Even if he does come back, I mean, I don't know, man. I'm not sure if Mike Tomlin is the best person to be making offensive personnel decisions. And he's very involved with quarterback and offensive personnel decisions. And that has not worked out so well for the Steelers here the last couple of years. So that is another concern of mine. It's a trickle down from the top, Joe. It's like, I don't think Arthur Smith was the best candidate to come in and navigate a 2024-2025 NFL offense. And now you see the personnel decisions at quarterback. Those are my biggest concerns for the Steelers, despite them having some pretty good-looking drafts on paper these last couple of years.
Dave says we need a magic 8-ball on the Rodgers decision. I actually have a magic 8-ball somewhere around here, but my guess, or just theory on the whole Rodgers thing, is I think he wanted to see what they were going to do in the draft. Let's say they went crazy and did take Shedeur Sanders in the 1st round or something like that. Maybe he didn't want to be part of that circus, or whoever they were going to take. Let's say they took Milroe or Jackson Dart or something like that. I don't care. Yes, Aaron Rodgers is a legend. Aaron Rodgers is a Hall of Famer. But if he struggled, fans would be screaming for the rookie. Maybe he didn't want to be a part of that. So maybe he would just wait until the draft. Maybe maybe this week. I'm hoping, because I'm so sick of we've been talking about this for like 2 or 3 months now. But yeah, maybe he was just waiting for the draft.
My whole issue is that Aaron Rodgers he looked bad. Like, the last time we saw him play a full season, like, he looked bad, and he had Garrett Wilson and Devontae Adams. He had good weapons to throw to. He had Breece Hall, and he looked bad. So I just, like, I think if anything, I mean, I don't know. I don't think that he's waiting to see what happened. No one knows what Rodgers thinks. Let's just put it that way. We can all speculate. It seems to me like he's just like, you know what, I'm going to take my time And like, it's not going to be a circus like it's been in the past, even though it kind of is, just because he's taking his time. But yeah, man, like I'm glad that they took Will Howard, because at the end of the day, yes, and that's another reason that I mentioned earlier with Shedeur is like, you can willingly bypass quarterback this year, because compared to 2024, it was a major downgrade. Compared to 2026, that's like the gold mine of NFL quarterbacks. I looked at a mock draft for 2026 yesterday. I think there were 7 quarterbacks in the first. I don't think that'll be the end result, but that just goes to show you how many good quarterbacks are going to be. So it's like, I'd rather have a losing season in 2025 and get one of those picks than draft a rookie, go 8-8, and then you're stuck with mediocrity at the most important position in the game for the next 5 years. So obviously that's part of the thinking there. And in the meantime, hey, maybe Will Howard can be one of those guys that 6th-round pick, Big Ten quarterback, next Tom Brady, Joe. Let's just call it right there. Next Tom Brady.
Maybe. I mean,
hey,
what he did in the college football playoffs was very impressive against the best teams in the country week after week. He played the best.
Yep.
That has to count for something. Maybe he doesn't have the greatest physical tools or whatever, but so much of being quarterback is processing and stuff. And when you perform, when you get the production at the time when you need it the most, that's impressive.
Agreed.
Yeah, we'll see. I mean, I've heard Will Howard called basically like a Mason Rudolph clone. So you know what? If your main Mason Rudolph goes down, get your backup Mason Rudolph. So there you go. So we'll see. It didn't surprise me that they went defensive line in the first round. It didn't surprise me that they went running back in the third round. But 4th round, Jack Sawyer, the edge. There's a lot of needs on this team, and really edge wasn't one of them. But I get it. You want to spell TJ Watt or Highsmith, and really Nick Herbig is nice, but he fills a smaller role because he's more of a finesse player. So Jack Sawyer looks like a more run stuffing, meat and potatoes kind of linebacker.
Yeah, I just think he fits the personality. You want some depth at the position, because if Watt goes down, you don't want to be stuck with nothing. Herbig's been okay. And I mean, look, Jack Sawyer, 4th round pick. I believe he was picked in, like, that means he was, I don't see the number in front of me. I'm trying to do the math in my head. So he was in the hundreds, right?
Yeah.
Okay. So I think that's really good value. That's an example of a guy. So we talked about like the whole mock draft accuracy contest that I do, where I release a free spreadsheet tool. It's the mock draft consensus tracker, but I also track the consensus big boards from the top big board analysts in the industry, right? Daniel Jeremiah, ESPN, mock draft database, PFF, Field Yates, a bunch of guys like, Dane Brugler from the Athletic. It's like handpicked, curated, like the top 24 most accurate big board rankers over the last decade, right? I want to double check here because I hadn't looked at this in a few days since the draft. But Jack Sawyer was ranked on average 68.9 on the consensus big board tracker over the last 2 months leading into the draft, and you're getting him at pick 100 plus. So you're talking about a value there of 30 plus picks, a Big Ten guy. A premier position. Let's not forget edge rusher is one of the, maybe the 2nd or 3rd most important position that you can take in the NFL draft. Daniel Jeremiah on his final big board, which was April 21st, his top 150, had him 70th overall. There were a couple big boards that had him as high as 45th overall, according to Sharp Football Analysis, like a legitimate round 2 pick. You get him in round 4. So I really like that pick for them as a 4th rounder for the Steelers.
Got to hand it to Omar Khan. It just seems like they're just patient, and the players they want just come to them, which is, like last year we saw that with with the center Zach Frazier. It's like how did you get this guy and not trade up? Caleb Johnson, I believe, was supposed to be a second rounder. Will Howard was supposed to go in the 4th or 5th round, and they got him in the 6th round. Like that's really impressive.
Yep.
I just can't have that much patience. If I were him, if it was a guy I wanted, I'd be trading up to try to get him. But hey, that's why Omar Khan has that job.
Yeah, and Field Yates from ESPN, he had Will Howard as his 76th overall prospect. Bleacher Report, they have a team of scouts that they do their big board and mock draft. They had him 73rd. So we're talking about a legitimate, high-end 3rd-round pick. 87th overall on the big board average consensus tracker, and you get him in round 6. When you're getting closer to pick 200, that's pretty damn good. So I like that, that run from round 1 to round 6, I thought the Steelers did a really good job just on paper. Again, so early to judge what happens with this class. I admittedly don't know too much about the linebacker from Washington and the cornerback they took from Central Michigan in the last round. But those 5 guys above them, even Yahya Black made Daniel Jeremiah's top 150 at the end leading into the draft. So those are the guys I trust. Those are the guys that have been the most accurate historically, ranking prospects going into the league and how well they do. And according to them, the Steelers, they hit above average on all those picks there. So I think just based on that alone, like you said, hats off to Omar Khan. Now my question is are we going to actually run these pieces together correctly on offense? TBD there.
Yep. Remains to be seen. So now that the draft is over, what is the fantasy impact of who do you think is going to be the biggest fantasy winners from this rookie class?
Yeah, right. That's the question here. So I guess we can talk positionally a little bit. I can just kind of run through some stuff. Let's start at quarterback. We kind of talked about it already, but I don't think you're rushing out to draft any of these guys. Like we're talking redraft leagues, right, Joe? Just
right.
Drafting a new team in the fall with your buddies or office, whatever. Cam Ward, I think, could provide some late round value, perhaps. I think we know he's going to start. We know the athleticism's there, and if he's going to run, and you're going to get a late round value on him in your drafts, I think there could be some value there. So I actually am a little bullish on Cam Ward. Again, this is a late round pick, though. I'm talking about here.
Yeah.
No one else really. Look, if Jalen Milroe ever gets the start and he's on your waiver wire middle of the season, that's absolutely a guy I'm going to run up to pick off the waivers because, I don't care how bad he looks. There's people out there that won fantasy championships with Tim Tebow at quarterback because he ran the ball all the time. So, that's where kind of with Milroe, we kind of cut it off there because we don't know what's going to happen with the Browns quarterbacks. They're not really mobile running quarterbacks either. Jackson Dart, maybe. I think it's more of a longer term prospect if you play in dynasty leagues for a Jackson Dart type of guy. So that's really where it kind of ends at quarterback for me with fantasy. I think when you really get into it, it's the running back and the wide receiver positions this year, especially running back. This has been reported as one of the best running back classes we've had in a long time. I don't think you can you could have come up with a better landing spot for Ashton Jeanty going to the Raiders. Pete Carroll loves to run the ball. Chip Kelly, you got Geno Smith upgrade at quarterback there. No competition whatsoever at running back. An aging Raheem Mostert to get a couple carries here and there. Jeanty's going to be a workhorse from day one, even more so than Bijan Robinson has been the last couple of years because Robinson's had to see, he's been a 65% carry guy compared to Tyler Algier there. So I'm going to be very bullish on Ashton Jeanty. I think he's already a borderline round 1 pick. He's a guy you might take top 8. I don't know if I can put him higher than that. I'm working on my fantasy rankings now. They'll be out sometime in the next week. My first set of rankings for 2025 post draft. I think I'll still take Barkley, Bijan, and Gibbs. After that, I think Genty's my RB4. I think I'm going to put him slightly above Bucky Irving, Josh Jacobs, Derrick Henry, Jonathan Taylor. I think he deserves to be ahead of those guys. We're talking about just a freak athlete, very heralded player coming out, great landing spot. I'm all about landing spot, Joe, when it comes to fantasy. When you throw in the high draft capital, it's a match made in heaven there.
Speaking of great landing spots, how about Omarion Hampton with the Chargers? That's a match made in heaven.
I like it. I like that a lot. You know, a lot of people thought that they would go defense there, but the fact that they did, I think they were very frustrated last year. They brought in the Ravens guys, Gus Edwards and J.K. Dobbins. J.K. Dobbins, you know, God bless him, he had some good games, but I think he kind of showed that he's just not able to like carry a full workload given his injury history anymore. So they really needed somebody young to come shake things up. Now, look, Najee Harris is coming into town too. Let's not forget that. So I am a little bit concerned out of the gates of a little bit of a timeshare there with Omarion Hampton. You know, but I do like him. I think there's going to be some value maybe as like a middle round pick with him. You know, one guy I really like a lot, Joe, is Quinshon Judkins.
Yeah.
He was actually my favorite prospect just as a football fan coming out. Playerprofiler.com, which is a great fantasy website looking at college prospects coming into the league. They had him as his player comp as Nick Chubb. So no surprise, no surprise that the Browns go in and draft him. But you know what I love is like not just the size, right? Like 6 foot, 221, ran a 4.48 40-yard dash. So like big but fast, 92nd percentile speed score, 94th percentile burst score. Like this guy's big. And look, like Travion Henderson, his teammate at Ohio State, he was the one getting the buzz. Like people were mocking him to go first round. And then Judkins goes, that's like, you could have gotten like 20-1, I think, if you were to bet Judkins to be the third running back off the board ahead of Henderson. I don't know anyone that had that on their bingo card, but Judkins got taken before Travion Henderson to a team like the Browns that's looking for their eventual Nick Chubb replacement. So, man, like I'm just like, I've got my googly fantasy eyes on for Quinshon Judkins. If he gets the right opportunity there, I trust Stefanski as a head coach to give me some fantasy goodness. So he's a guy personally I'm very excited about as a prospect, as a future landing spot in terms of like when, you know, how much longer does Nick Chubb have there? So I'm very excited about him. I think Travion Henderson, you know, going to the Patriots, great pickup for them. They still have Ramondre Stevenson. They still have Antonio Gibson. I don't know like exactly how they're going to use him necessarily. But I do think that like the offense maybe is going to struggle a little more than the offensive line. At least we know the offensive line is much better in Cleveland than it is in New England. So that's kind of why I like Judkins' fit a lot more than Henderson. You know, a couple other guys down the board. I think that RJ Harvey, you know, taken in the second round was a surprise, but this guy at a UCF, like he went ahead of Caleb Johnson. So we're talking about the fifth running back off the board. RJ Harvey had really good measurables coming out, had a really good RAS score, relative athletic score that people use to judge the explosiveness in these players. I think in terms of like Sean Payton looking for like Sean Payton's always like the guy, he's always the one going after quote unquote his guys. And if he drafted Harvey like 2 rounds ahead of where a lot of people had Harvey on their big boards, I think we're looking at a possible really good fit there. 4.40 40-yard dash, 98th percentile time in the 40, 91st percentile speed score, 88th percentile burst score. Smaller back, but carries his weight well. He's a guy I think that's a good fit when we're talking about an offense that's improving with Bo Nix under center, with some good pieces at receiver. I think Harvey could get a nice opportunity where at this point, I see him more as like a late round running back that could have really big upside in fantasy football.
I mean, the Broncos needed a running back, and you know, Stefanski just got his new Nick Chubb, and I think Sean Payton just got his new Alvin Kamara.
It certainly is possible, and a lot of people were mocking Omarion Hampton to the Broncos. Which if Omarion Hampton went to the Broncos, I'd be a lot higher on Hampton than I am now with Najee Harris coming to town with a potential workload split there. Don't get me wrong. I still do like Hampton. I'm kind of neutral. I feel like I'm willing to draft Hampton where he's going right now, and not too far behind, not too far ahead. I think the guys I'm going to be bullish on as of right now, and look, these average draft positions can certainly change from now until draft season, But Judkins to me and Harvey outside the obvious of Ashton Genty at the top. Down the board, it's kind of too early to tell. I think like dynasty-wise, like I'll throw a couple names out. I think Cam Scatabo, could be in a nice little 1-2 punch with Tyrone Tracy and with the Giants. I don't know if it's enough fantasy scoring opportunities available for him to really make an impact, but maybe a down the road type of guy, smart football player. I think Bashal Tutin, very athletic player, going to the Jaguars. I think they're disappointed with Travis Etienne and with Tank Bigsby to an extent. So we could see maybe more of a 1-2 punch with Bigsby and Tutin this year, kind of like a thunder lightning there, where it seems like Etienne's kind of lost a lot of his lightning. And then way down the board, Dylan Sampson going to the Browns. I think that could be the backfield of the future there, where you have the thumper and Judkins and the third down, explosive pass catching back and Dylan Sampson out of Tennessee. And then I'll keep an eye out. Like no one you're going to draft right now, but dynasty draft, free agent, like watch list when we're talking about the fall. Keep an eye on Taj Brooks from Texas Tech. The Bengals took him in the 6th round. This guy is the most productive running back in Texas Tech football history. Really explosive, sturdy, strong running back. Got a lot of work in college. If anything happens to Chase Brown, like they really don't have much in Cincinnati. And we're talking about an offense that might be scoring more points than anyone in the entire league because their defense is so bad. So I think that he's a guy that I'm going to keep on my watch list, maybe target in some deeper roster drafts, some dynasty drafts, and things like that. And there's a lot of other talented running backs out there, but those are the guys I have my eye on at least right now, a couple of days after the draft.
This was such a deep draft in running backs. It's no surprise that someone taken even in the 6th round can contribute big in the long term. I could easily see that. It's just weird how drafts work, from year to year. Sometimes they're deep in wide receiver or quarterback or something. This year was definitely running back and defensive line.
100%. Yeah. And just, real quick, like kind of wrapping up the wide receivers and tight ends. I think that fantasy wise, like Ted McMillan, I think by default, is going to find himself getting a lot of targets there. We saw how much targets Deontay Johnson was getting earlier in the season before they moved on from him. I think we could see that again with Bryce Young there. Emeka Ibuka, second receiver off the board in the 1st round. He's stepping into a crowded receiver room with Godwin coming back, with the rookie last year, Jalen McMillan. So I'm a little worried about his short-term fantasy prospects, even though I really like him as a prospect long-term. Matthew Golden, kind of same situation. Like this is going to be a very crowded wide receiver room in Green Bay. Like I love Josh Jacobs and I love Jordan Love because I know that at their positions, they're going to have their ball in their hands like almost every other play. Whereas the receivers, man, you're talking about like 6 talented pass catchers on that Green Bay roster. So I'm a little worried about Golden there. I actually like Jaden Higgins, second pick of the 2nd round out of Iowa State. The Texans got him after trading back. And then they pick up his teammate, Jalen Noel, who I also really liked a lot as a prospect coming out. So talking about a team where Tank Dell, I love Tank Dell. That's my brother from another mother there. And, but he's had a hard time staying healthy. And I love him. He's a talented guy. He's now ended his season in both his NFL seasons towards the end. So I hope he comes back, but they do need other pieces in there with the departure of Steph Diggs. It's like Nico Collins and who else? Well, it could be Jaden Higgins and Jalen Noel being teammates again. Jalen Noel had a borderline elite relative athletic score coming into the draft. And then Jaden Higgins as well tested really good. So we're talking about 2 uber athletic receivers that could be, day 1 starters in 3 receiver sets, and one of the better young quarterbacks in the league with an improved offensive line. I was happy they moved out Bob Slowick, so they're going to have a new play caller in Houston calling plays next year. So I think those are all positive signs for me. Like once you get past those 1st round guys, like I think Tet obviously is going to be the first receiver taken in fantasy drafts, and for good reason. I'm probably going to bypass Ibuka and Golden and go down to Jaden Higgins, Jalen Noel, because the opportunity's there. The situation is right. Maybe even Luther Burden from Chicago, the speedster, before mock draft season really heated up, he was considered a possible round 1 pick, had some red flag character issues. He's going into Ben Johnson's system in Chicago where it's like DJ Moore. They're not bringing back Keenan Allen anymore. So I think that he could be a guy, if Caleb Williams takes like a really good, solid year 2 step, that could be like a go-to second receiver for the Chicago Bears, explosive receiver in Luther Burden. So I think he's another guy to kind of keep my eye on. wasn't the greatest receiver class from like a prospect evaluation standpoint, but I think those are the guys where I want the speed, I want the explosiveness, and I want the right fit with the quarterback and with the play calling situation. And I think those three guys, the two Iowa State receivers, Higgins and Noel, plus Luther Burden, like those are three guys I have my eye on as potential rookie value in these mid to late rounds coming in drafts.
Well, the big question is how much wide receiver is Travis Hunter going to play? He wants to play both sides, but is that realistic?
So let me just clarify that. Like, yeah, like Travis Hunter to me is the best receiver bar none in this class, and I will be targeting him. He's in the Ashton Jeanty realm where it's like, yes, of course, like you want Jeanty, you want Travis Hunter. After Hunter, I think McMillan's in a clear tier 2, and then I put those other guys in my tier 3. So yeah, I mean, like he's going to get steamed up. Now, like the one thing I will say is like if you start to hear rumors and criticism about Hunter that like he might not be a full-time receiver, he might play cornerback, like use that to your advantage, because then other drafters you're drafting with, if they're scared of that, they're going to draft scared. I would not do that. Like I would take advantage of their fear and I would draft Hunter aggressively, because the reason why the Jaguars traded up all that capital to get him is so they could use him at receiver, right? Like you're talking about Liam Cohen coming into that system. This is boomer. This is make or break, right? This is do or die, whatever saying you want to use for Trevor Lawrence. Like they're giving him everything he needs now. Exactly. Brian Thomas Jr. and Travis Hunter. Like, man, like that could be like the future wide receiver duo in this league next to Jamar Chase and T. Higgins, right? Like that's what they want to make it. So I think absolutely Travis Hunter, I want to draft aggressively. If anyone has an inkling of fear about him playing cornerback, give me all the Hunter shares as well. I don't know exactly where I'm going to have him just yet. To me, off the bat, seems like a possible like round 3 possible pick, which might be a little bit aggressive, but the upside is absolutely there. And I think the opportunities are going to be there for a quarterback who's going to throw the ball a lot in 2025. So yes, absolutely. I want me some Travis Hunter. And there's some decent tight ends too. Like just to kind of close it out, I think Colston Loveland, talented tight end. I'm a little worried about his fantasy target volume in year 1. The fact they gave Cole Kmet a big contract a couple years ago. I did mention Caleb Johnson taking a year 2 step. Well, what if he doesn't take a year 2 step, right? Like he struggled a lot last year to consistently get his guys the ball. So I do think there's some red flags there. I think Tyler Warren, as much as I love him as a prospect, I'm just worried about the quarterback situation right there. Like I trust Shane Steichen calling the plays, but when all you've got is Daniel Jones and Anthony Richardson, I'm not going to be as confident there. So, it's tough, man. Like, I don't know if there's any real tight end I'm going to be super excited to draft this year. A guy I like coming out, Harold Fannin from Bowling Green. Well, he steps into a situation where David Njoku is like an absolute beast at tight end for the Browns too. So I don't know how much he's going to get there either. Maybe look at a guy like Elijah Arroyo going into Seattle. If Sam Darnold can play well, I think he's an athletic guy out of Miami there that has some good testing and traits where he could be an athletic tight end that could thrive in that short passing type of system that they're looking to establish there. Mason Taylor to the Jets round 2. Again, like Justin Fields throwing the ball to a tight end, him running the ball a lot. Not really going to get too excited about that. So I would say that's probably my least exciting position for rookies, even though Loveland and Warren are absolute like great prospects at that position. I would say for right now, even though I think Tyler Warren is the better prospect, Loveland definitely finds himself in the better situation having Ben Johnson calling plays and Caleb Williams at quarterback versus what Warren has, which is unfortunately right now Anthony Richardson and Daniel Jones.
Right. Yeah, I mean, with Loveland, he potentially could be in a really good position. Ben Johnson coming from Detroit. Maybe Ben Johnson now has his own Sam Laporta, and Sam Laporta had that monster rookie year.
Yes.
But rookie tight ends just don't. It usually does not work out that they have a good rookie year. So I tend to stay away.
It's tough. Like I will admit when I'm wrong, and I was 100% wrong last year on Brock Bowers. I thought he was being drafted into a terrible situation. I loved him. I thought he was going to be a great pro, but like year one, I did not see that. Like they had just drafted Michael Mayer the year before, heralded rookie, a tight end. They had no quarterback situation. The coaching, the play calling, the offensive line was all a mess. And I'm like, that's just a terrible landing spot. And Brock Bowers just was that good, and he defied those odds. So I was absolutely wrong. And now we do have back-to-back years, Joe, where Sam Laporta and Brock Bowers, rookie tight ends, who really took the league by storm. So could it be Loveland? Maybe. I have a hard time seeing it be Warren with those quarterbacks, honestly. But hey, man, Brock Bowers did do it last year. So if it's going to be a tight end to do it, it's going to be one of those two guys. Like we know that. That's like almost written as fact. And then down the board, I think it's a really weak class in terms of depth past those two. The guys I mentioned, like deep leagues, dynasty leagues, I might have them on my watch list for now. But you're talking about a 10-team, 12-team regular redraft. We're not targeting anyone outside of Colson, Loveland, and Tyler Warren right now.
Yep. So how can people find you, follow you, and get more of your work?
Yeah, well, just keep it simple. You can follow me on X, which is at Mad Journalist. That's MADD Journalist with 2 Ds. You can find all the great Steelers work we're doing at post-gazette.com, where you can find the best team of Steelers insiders and analysts in the industry. Jerry Dulac, Ray Fittipaldo, Brian Batko, Christopher Carter. We got a lot of exciting stuff coming through the pipeline there as we get into the offseason, training camp, etc. I mean, it's a couple weeks away now from finding out when the Ireland game is going to be, Joe. I'm pretty excited about that. I'll have my first set of rankings out for the fantasy football season in a couple weeks here. I'll put that on my X. I'll put that on my website, which is bettingpredators.com. But at the end of the day, you can find everything I have is going to be in one place on my Twitter, and you can find the links to everything else from there.
We go right from mock draft season to fantasy football season. There's a quick transition. I'm so happy that you guys have brought on Chris Carter full time for the Steelers coverage. I'm such a fan of his. I think he does awesome work.
Shout out to Chris Carter. I was with him. We had our live stream show on the North Shore at Mike's Beer Bar Thursday and Friday night. Chris, I put this out on Twitter, and it got a lot of likes and retweets. Like, Chris Carter broke the news on both Steelers picks.
He did. He had it way before anybody else.
He did. He had it way before.
On the first and the third round picks.
I was running the live show production for those 2 nights, and he had that, and he had it early.
Way before anybody else. That was impressive.
Yeah, Carter is technically new to the Steelers beat, but we know he's been working with the Steelers beat unofficially the last couple of years. Has great sources, had great sources when he was on the Pitt Athletics beat as well. You can follow him on X at Carter Critiques. I mean, like I said, like him joining our official Steelers team, I mean, I thought we already had one of the best out there in terms of just like team beat reporters out of any team in the NFL. Now it's like 110% for me. So shout out to Chris for breaking the news on Derek Harmon and breaking the news on Caleb Johnson. And yeah, like I said, man, like it's going to be a fun season. We've got a lot of news in the pipeline still to come with the Ireland game, with the Aaron Rodgers news, what's going to happen at quarterback. And then personally for me, I'm going to be putting out my weekly rankings at post-gazette.com as well as on my Twitter page. I'll have my weekly fantasy football column every Sunday, like last season, and excited to get that going again too. It's like mock draft season for the real players. Now we're going to get into the mock drafts for the fantasy players on the fake football field. So I'm super excited about it.
And technically, you're still the champ from, even though that was from 2 years ago for fantasy football, right? I'm still wearing the belt. I don't even know if I'm gonna give it back, Joe. If I don't win, I'm gonna be Shooter McGavin running down with the green jacket while everybody's chasing me. Yeah, man. Like it's they'll announce the 2024 draft winners probably sometime later this summer. But until then, I will enjoy my imaginary championship belt over here. All right. Hey, thanks so much for coming on.
Likewise, Joe. Take it easy, man.
All right. I'll see you.
All right.